90% of your threats. They're the people who are either on drugs, looking for quick money. They are the angry people. They are the disturbed people. They are the just evil folks. And they will go to the path of least resistance. It's kind of like water sometimes. If they can't get your house, they'll go next door. If you have a dog, the dog fits in the yard spot. So now you take the place of an armed security person, because dogs are like the best watch people in the world. They're on 24/7. Even the little pooch dogs, the cute ones, still work pretty good. And believe it or not, I found out in corrections that dogs and inmates don't go together. If an inmate heard a dog's feet on the linoleum, they backed into their cell without even knowing the dog was coming or not. It's like they are fearful of that thing that won't judge them. It's going to just do what it's supposed to do without their head games and the stuff that they do to people. So having a dog is a huge thing for a homeowner. And if you don't like dogs, buy a really nice Beware of the Dog sign. Put that thing out on the front, and maybe even get a dog bowl with some water and stick it on your porch so that people can see it as they go by. And that will make them go to the next house. That's all you want to do is deter. If you can deter, you'll save yourself a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I know. As you're talking about this, it's funny because I deliver pizzas part-time for Domino's, and everything you said is what I look for as I'm going up to deliver pizza. Dude, I'm not kidding, man. If I see a huge chain outside the door, well, I know they got a big dog inside, so my awareness is heightened because I don't want this thing coming from the back of the house coming at me. And also, like you were saying, the video cameras. I mean, a lot of homes, even in the less the bad parts of town, they all have these doorbells with the camera on them. And when you hit the doorbell, it goes to their cell phone, and they can see exactly who's at the door. Not that a robber's going to ring the doorbell, but like you said, man, that makes a huge difference on that. And I never thought about, some of these houses, they may just have a dog chain out there in a bowl and not even have a dog. But
I know, right? It's all psychological.
Right,
This whole thing about being in security is playing chess. And I've done it well for over 40 years. I haven't got killed yet. I'm still kicking. And I've protected families in 5 different countries and doing wartime situations. It was funny that in my position as a protector, they would kind of make jokes about me being a Christian, because this was long before I became a pastor. They were like, "Yeah, you're that religious guy." But at the same time, I was also the guy who was trained and they would trust with their families. So that if there was a family that was in trouble, there was a family that was overseas, diplomat, part of the State Department, that had a hit on them, and they said, well, we can't send SEAL Team 5 over there. We can't get this guy right here with all the tattoos because he's going to scare the kids. And this person here has a trouble with their language, and they're just foul. They're really good shooters, but they're not housebroken. We'll send Kenn. And Kenn blends right in. Kenn has become the butler. Kenn has become the chauffeur. I'm pushing a cart in the grocery store and trying to let my guns show through my coat, because I'm ready to scoop all these kids out of here and beat feet back out to the embassy. So it's all about playing the game and just being one step ahead of the bad guy.
Hey, Kenn, this is Ed, or Smooth Ed.
Smooth Ed.
Hey, I just wanted to. I think that what you just said there, it reminds me of how Paul talks about being all things to all men. It's like doing what you have to do for other people's sake and stuff like that. And in the particular case in Scripture, is referring to, being able to have that inroad to sharing the gospel. And I think you probably have maybe a few stories from that too, I guess, but that's kind of what came to my mind when you were talking about that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
It was funny when I got ordained and I got the first church, the head of the CIA sent me a letter he and his wife to congratulate me. And I remember the deacons in the church were reading the letter, and they said, well, I don't really understand. I understand it's a congratulatory letter, but who's this? Who's the George and Stephanie Tennant? And I said, oh, they're just my former boss. And I remember there was a couple people in the audience that looked around at me, and I thought, yeah, y'all know it's the head of the CIA. That wasn't just anybody. The folks who laughed or smiled at your one way were also being a witness to your ministry and your walk even before you got there. So it's never a surprise if you live in and walk in the Word.
Yep. All right. How about let's get back to how about proper gun storage with kids in the home to be accessible yet safe.
I grew up in Tidewater, Virginia, in a little town called Whaleyville that don't even exist anymore. It was 3 miles from the North Carolina border, underneath the Blackwater swamp, and we were really, really poor. Grandma had a loaded shotgun in the corner behind the wood stove all my life, and her safety mechanism was a switch. Not the kind that you put on a gun, but the kind you pull off a tree.
Yep.
So we feared for our life that if we touched that firearm without Grandma's permission, we get corporal punishment. Well, today, we don't do that too much anymore, but you can secure your firearms, one, by educating your kids. When my son was 2 and my daughter was 12, I think I did my first little gun safety class in the house. I took everything that I owned and I stuck them up on a table and put ties through them so the bolts couldn't go home and the slides would lock and they couldn't pinch their fingers. And I let them play with it. I let them pick up, see the weight of it, get the whole mystery of safety and security out the way. This is what a gun is. This is what Dad has. And I bored them to tears. After they figured out that it was heavier than it is on television, I told them I don't want to see them touch these or handle these, and this is serious stuff, and this is Dad's. And they understood, and that was it. The mystery was gone. I took them out on the range a lot later. So the part about them looking for some mystery thing, I had taken that away. The next thing I had to do was I had to secure them in lock boxes, a safe that I have, and also the guns that I use for home protection that I wanted to leave out in case so I could get to it really fast. I had to be cognizant that whenever there was family, kids, visitors, anybody over, that my gun was also accessible to them. So I had to change up a few things. One, sometimes I actually put it on and carried it concealed in my house, just so that I didn't have to worry about it after that. And then other times I actually put it in rooms that I locked for when guests came over, they just couldn't go in certain rooms. And as long as you make a conscious effort, never forget the responsibility of being a gun owner, you'll be fine. You have to be overly paranoid because it's your responsibility. You can delegate a whole bunch of stuff. I remember that from the Marine Corps. You can delegate your authority, but never your responsibility. So the fact that we are law-abiding and we can carry and we can do all these good things, we have the freedom to save our lives and protect our homes and to have these firearms, the responsibility is that we also have to make sure that they don't go into the hands of unauthorized people. And that goes for kids and guests. And I got some cousins that probably can't get a background check through for save their life. I have to go through my house like a criminal to make sure nothing's sticking out or showing so I don't lose it and they don't touch it. It's all on the owner.
All right. What door and window security? Any suggestions on that inside the home?
They make a whole bunch of cool stuff now that you can, depending on your type of your window, some of them fit inside so that you can't slide it. Mylar or a protective film is a good thing to have on it. Not only does it save your bills from the heat being pushed out, but it also keeps the glass intact in case somebody tries to tap it or knock out a window pane. If you don't have an alarm system, they even have the wireless kind now. There's almost no excuse.
I'm not familiar with that Mylar. That's just a film that that you put over the.
It's kind of like window tint that you would put on your car.
Mm-hmm.
You can call a company out, and they can put it on your window, especially the part facing the sun, and it kind of reinforces your window a little bit. It's a one-time deal. It probably lasts at least 10, 15 years before you have to snatch it off there and do it again.
Okay. All right. Now the big question. What if there's a break-in? What does a family do?
Break-ins, oh man, they're just a horrible thing. They make everybody feel violated. Somebody has been in your space. Hopefully, you have not lost anything that you can't replace, and that's the main thing. Things can be replaced. Don't get caught up on that. Just make sure that everything's insured. That you, again, responsible with your firearms. They got locked up. And if they're not locked up and you did lose them, report it quick so that they know that firearm that you used to have is out on the street now. And guarantee they'll find it probably in a year in some crime. Guns move fast, and that's the reason why a lot of criminals go after gun owners. They're hoping that when they hit your house, like say they listen to this show and they know that I'm a firearms owner, they can't wait to leave out of here or I leave out of here to look and hope I left something out, because it's quick money. The black market loves firearms. But if your house has been broken into, don't try to be a room clearer, Johnny Rambo, and go in there and look for the bad guy. Call the police. Play it safe. A lot of the guys that are breaking into stuff now have done it so many times. They got it to an art, and they're out of your house in less than 2 or 3 minutes. So if you get there and it might have just happened, or their car is in the driveway, they're on their way out. So you're going to run into them. It's all on a time thing. They're doing it a smash and grab. They're not in there unless something's wrong with them, which that happens too. They're in there using your soap and brushing your teeth and stuff on your stuff. Except for those crazy people. But they exist too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But except for the other ones, they're in there to grab the most stuff they can find and then get back out. So let them leave. You'll only get hurt as if you catch them in the act and they have no way of escape. If they can get out through the back door, through the window they came through, they will. I've actually been through that a couple of times where, as a kid, we had a family that lived about a mile from us, and they had like 7 or 8 sons, and they were the biggest criminals in our neighborhood. And our house got robbed, I think, 12 times until they all went to jail. And then there was peace in the neighborhood. It was funny that I didn't learn that until after I went in the Marine Corps and came back, and they said, the last one of those guys is locked up, and the crime in the neighborhood stopped. So I thought, all right, that's just nuts.
That's funny.
The last time that it happened, they were in the house. When we got home from a Christmas visit, my grandmother came back in the house, opened the front door, and we heard something drop. And glass broke. They rushed. They dropped everything they had and ran back out the back window. And all we saw was the footprint from them jumping and the trail of stuff they dropped, heading back down toward which learned later it was the same family. They were there. So it's going to happen fast. I'm glad that we weren't in the house, because then it changes. There's even people who rob while you sleep. And that's a whole different ball game right there. And the law is different. Burglary versus robbery. Even the Bible talks about that one. Somebody in your house that's robbing it. Sometimes you can use deadly force. So it's just a whole different ball game.
And that's state by state, isn't it? On what
totally.
What can be used and what can't be used. And all right, did anyone have any other questions on that part before we move on? Okay.
I hope I ain't yakking too much.
No, this is awesome. All right, so now As I told you before, my daughter really put this list together. She's doing sound for us tonight, but so